My name is Dr. Ishaq Munor. We are continuing our discussion on setting goals to rise to the top under the broad perspective of purpose, progress, or perfection. This is the general view of most of the presentations we'll be doing. We'll be doing these presentations in education, in economics, in leadership, and management. And what it then means is that you must set out your purpose either as a business, whether you are in employment or you are into investment. Whichever way you want to do or look at any one of these things, then you must set out a project. And that project is to let your goals be very clear to you in your mind, and how you intend to make progress, and how you perceive your ultimate goal, which is the perfection. I've always explained that perfection doesn't mean infallibility. It is not a point where you will reach and will be flawless and all be there without mistakes. Before we proceed to look at management from the line of our previous presentations, we are going to look at leading by following. We have done a number of presentations on leadership. We want to say that you can lead by following. That is not necessarily subordination. But that is best captured by Lanshalaf when he writes in his book, The Courageous Follower. He says, a follower shares underline a common purpose, and purpose underline a common purpose with the leader, believes in what the organization is trying to accomplish. So belief is important. And he also wants both the organization and the leader to succeed. Success is perfection. So we want to always remind ourselves that we are, moving around purpose, progress, or perfection. So at all times, you find us make reference to these three things most often. And so the follower wants both the organization and the leader to succeed and works energetically to this end. What it means is that in our earlier presentations, I've been trying to say that when you are looking at a leader, in the case of Ghana Education Service, as either Minister of Education or Director General, you may not be getting it right. You may even not look at the 6 divisional directors at GS headquarters. You may not necessarily even be looking at regional director only as a leader, or district, municipal, or metropolitan directors as leaders. You know that you have to be a leader in the classroom. That is the beginning point, and that's where the leadership should be. I'm saying that you may think that when you are a classroom teacher, then you are not leader, and all you need to do is to walk into the classroom, deliver quarrel over even lesson plan or let alone scheme of work, and enter the class, do what you think is delivery of your lesson, some assessment because you are required to do it, and you leave. You can take it to civil service. You can take it to your own private business where you are not maybe the chief executive. You are not the chief executive. You are working under somebody. What we are saying is that you can lead by following. And you can lead by following if, first and foremost, you share in the purpose of the organization and the leader, and then you believe in the leader, and you want the organization and the leader to succeed, and you work energetically. You know, in working energetically, that comes with initiative, some level of intelligence that is then covered with energy. Because if we are not donkeys. If you just run into an organization and you are moving about, running about and working without thinking, that one is not accepted. And so initiative or creativity, these are to blend with some level of cognitive development that you apply with the energy to be able to get the organization to achieve its goals. For you to lead by following, you must build your relationships, and that can be done through being trustworthy. I've always explained, particularly from my understanding of Zig Ziglar's book, that with trust comes with character and competence. Because when you are building a relationship and you are also building trust with people, you must have a strong personality. You must have a firm and fair personality. And if you have a firm and fair personality and you don't seem to understand what you are doing yourself, clearly nobody can trust you, not because you may not be quote unquote a likable human being, but you don't understand your work. How do you supervise? So clearly you make mistakes all over the place. How do you build trust? So relationship, yes. What it means is that that is a point of influencing the others. And I have heard so much about leadership being followership and not headship. But this definition by Lanshalaf clearly explains why that is so. Well, it's just not positional that you are having this position, but it is the fact that you share in the purpose, you believe in the vision, you want the organization to succeed, and you are working energetically to achieve that. For you to lead by following, I understand that you must go beyond subordination. To be a subordinate is to understand that someone is ahead of you and you are willing to take as much as he is able to explain for you to understand that it is the guideline, it is the goal, it is the objective of the organization, and all you try to do is to do just that. My thinking is that you are not too different from a machine, but a follower is more than just that, and that is explained by the last point, that a follower, you can lead by following when you speak out. How do you speak out? If you are ignorant, you cannot. If you don't understand the vision and the mission of the organization, you cannot speak out. What are you going to speak out on? So if you don't share and believe in the organization's mission and vision, what are you going to speak out about? So clearly, and if you also know them and you are straight to the work and you are working, you are losing the other 2 points, which means that you are not going to be, leading by following. What it means is that we explained earlier on that you can, because leadership is followership and not subordination and not also headship. It means that you are more valuable than just executing simply. And that is explained to mean that you are only interested in collecting your paycheck and getting by it. And once you do work that will allow you to be paid, for what you are employed for, you vanish from the organization, no more, no less. I've tried to explain the little that I understand, that in not looking at the technical explanation of what leading by following is, but by looking at examples, you can find in churches and mosques where lead pastor can allow young ones to do presentations based on how they have shown themselves. But the practical example of also understanding that the most important person in the organization is not the man at the top. It's when you can see in the various universities that someone could be a vice chancellor, and after the period that you have served, you come back and others are elected, and you continue your life as a senior teacher or lecturer without any qualms. That is practical to show that the person being the vice chancellor is not the most important person in the organization. And so if everybody understands it that way, then whichever part and whichever area and whichever section, whichever department, whichever unit you find yourself, and in whatever organization you find yourself, you will want to go by these things. And there's no doubt that if the majority of the people in any organization see themselves as leaders, and then they are leading by following, how do you execute leadership without power? It is by doing these things. And someone will say that if you go into a meeting, you may have a chief executive sitting, but you could still have the leader of the meeting. Why so? Who is the one influencing the decisions? And most of these things are based on the appreciation of such people, whether they know these things technically themselves or not. They go by these things and naturally become leaders wherever they find themselves. And that is the way we are to go. Whether as individuals or organizations, then we can go along with purpose, progress, and perfection.